Madge, tell me, what do you find in your role, because you have worked with the big churches, the small churches, and you've met church leaders across the board, but you've also worked with the members. So you've got a really good viewpoint of the church as it stands at the moment. Baptist, Church of England, Pentecostal, Evangelical, I mean, you've worked with them all. What would you say at this moment is your most frustrating thing about the church?
I would say the denominational divide is a real issue. We need to be acting more ecumenical, i.e. we need to be working together. We are called the church, and the head of the church is Jesus, and so we're the body of Christ.
Right.
But what I have observed in my experiences, you've got a leg there, a hand there, a foot there, the head might be over there, and they're not necessarily trying to coordinate and work together. We've got some major issues and challenges going on in society at the moment. And I think that the church would be a really good social change agent to address some of those challenges. You know, we've got challenges with young people and knife crime, for instance, guns and unemployment and all those other societal challenges that we have. What's the church doing together? Yes, we've got local churches and they should be impacting their local communities, but what's the church doing as a body together? What organizations are out there that will pull us all together, black, white, or indifferent? So I would say that was a major frustration, not just for me, but for other people as well.
Okay, I'm going to push that a little bit because you're saying the church needs to come together as one.
Yeah.
And yet, if say like the Baptist will start working on something that is right, we are now going to start doing this for the homeless on a big scale. The church at large, why can't we then just get behind that one? Why don't we get behind that one project? Instead, we start then setting up loads all over the place.
Well, it's a complex question, and you know, I haven't necessarily spoken to all these various networks, but what I will say is, hypothetically, has that denomination, you use the example of Baptist, it could be C of V, it could be a free church, it could be a Pentecostal, it doesn't matter. Have they approached others to tell them that that's what they're doing?
This is what they're doing, right.
It is about somebody leaving their own agendas and looking at kingdom.
Right.
I think there's a lack of kingdom agenda going on to some extent in some areas. And if we looked at together how we can do it all together, we would be so much more effective. We would be so much more effective.
So you're saying if we saw more dialogue, open dialogue between churches, between church leaders, between denominations, that maybe would be able to get on the road to becoming one church?
Yeah, but the problem I have noticed is that we look at our differences. For instance, we're in the UK and we've got the historic church. The historic church is the Church of England. Now, the historic church may foster a relationship with the Baptists or the Methodists or the United Reformed Church. And they might or might not establish a relationship with the so-called free churches, who could be the Pentecostal church, for instance.
Right.
So my observation is there is definitely a divide in how we communicate and what our perceptions on what that particular group can offer.
Right.
Now, we can only talk about this, but the action has to come from way up. And we could take it at an MP level. You know, we've got MPs who are Christians, for instance. could we actually find a way of working together that way and pulling people together and not having all these endless meetings that actually don't go anywhere?
Yeah.
When we need to be more effective.
I'm
being really controversial now, but
but this is what you do, and this is what you offer. You're speaking truth, and what I love is that you're speaking a very positive truth. So even though you've identified the problem, you're also at the same time giving a solution. We're not one church. If we talked together more across denominations, we would become one church.
Absolutely,
it's that simple.